The AP has reported that career civil servants who work on the White House National Security Council have been questioned by senior Trump admin officials about which candidate they voted for, their political contributions, and whether they have made social media posts that could be considered incriminating by Trump's team. What the hell? On Wednesday, roughly 160 NSC detailees who worked in the Biden admin were told that they were being sent home so Trump's team could conduct a review to ensure its personnel aligned with Trump's agenda. All right, this is pretty important. We're now getting an exclusive look into the Maga loyalty tests that are unfolding behind the scenes in Trump's second administration. This reads, loyalty tests and Maga checks inside the Trump White House's intense screening of job seekers. And before we even jump into that, I just want to tell you about the direct implications of this. Did you guys ever hear about January 3rd, 2021? We all know about January 6th, but what happened on January 3rd is almost equally as important and shocking. On January 3rd, a bunch of former DOJ officials threatened to resign en masse in the Oval Office if Trump did not stop telling lies and stop threatening to fire people. You can see a bunch of incredibly important DOJ officials, Richard Donahue, Jeffrey Rosen, Jeffrey Clark, Stephen Engel, and then Donald Trump. They all sit him down and they all say, we are going to publicly resign and out you. We are going to publicly resign en masse and say that Donald Trump's lies are the reason why. This would have tanked his political career, and honestly, they should have just done it. But this ties into what we're going to be talking about today as Trump's trying to avoid this exact situation from happening again. Let's just start here, and then we'll break down what's happening now in the Trump White House. Make sure you drop a like. We're trying to hit 1 million subscribers, and I can't do it without you guys. This says, witnesses in today's hearing, and this was about 2 years back, revealed the details of a dramatic Oval Office meeting on January 3rd, of 2021, in which top Justice Department officials banded together to prevent Jeffrey Clark, an environmental lawyer at the DOJ, from replacing acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen. This is some serious stuff, and these were some of the last checks available in our institutions. Now, Trump is replacing DOJ officials, he's replacing inspector generals, he's firing people en masse, and he enacted his Schedule F executive order, which says that he can hire and fire civil servants at his own will, not based on merit, not based on their skill level or their experience in our institutions, but based purely on loyalty. So Trump was keen to install Clark, an ally, in order to wield the powers of the DOJ to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Again, Trump wanted to install a loyalist, an ally, to overturn the results of the election. The meeting took place a day after Clark had told Rosen and acting Deputy Attorney General Richard Donahue that Trump asked him to consider replacing Rosen. Clark doubled down on claims that there had been fraud in the election, even though there was no proof, there had never been any proof, and acknowledged he had continued discussions with Trump despite assuring a week prior that he wouldn't engage in conversations with the president. It's an overreach. On January 3rd, Clark told Rosen the timeline had moved up, and ahead of this meeting, Donahue assembled a conference call with assistant attorney generals and asked what they would do if Clark was installed, and he said in the meeting, they would all resign en masse. Hours later, the tense meeting began, and we can go over this after I read this article about what happened today. This is the most important part because this is happening as I speak. Job seekers hoping to join the new Trump admin are facing a series of intense loyalty tests, with White House screening teams fanning out to government agencies to check for Make America Great Again bona fides in carefully parsing applicants' politics and social media posts. And the scary part is a lot of people in our institutions, a lot of civil servants are already quitting, are already resigning because they know what is to come, which leaves Trump the opening to fill them with loyalists. President Trump has long said he believes the biggest mistake he made during his first term was hiring what he considered to be the wrong kinds of people. Now, aides are working aggressively to ensure the government is filled only with loyalists. Negative social media posts have been enough to derail applications. Those seeking jobs have been told they have to prove their enthusiasm to enact Trump's agenda and have been asked when their moment of Maga revelation occurred. These are quotes, when their moment of Maga revelation occurred. That is wild. One federal employee said they briefly considered buying Trump's crypto meme coin in case the president's team asked about their voting record. This is so dystopian. I mean, people are now curtailing their behavior within our institutions to try to fit what they think Donald Trump will want, and that goes as far as buying Trump merch, buying Trump meme coins. The intense screening has led some federal workers to question whether Trump's team cares more about loyalty than competence. Oh yeah, that's a good question to ask at this point. Obviously, they care more about loyalty. There is a concern that his team is ousting foreign policy and national security diplomats and others who could offer the administration expertise and institutional knowledge at a time of conflict worldwide, which is very scary. We don't know the specifics, but think about Trump having the loyalists around him to oust Dr. Fauci right before the COVID pandemic. Then we're all completely in the dark. As the pandemic is spreading across the country, he doesn't have the scientists, the advisors around him, who he didn't even listen to anyways, but at least Dr. Fauci was there in those press conferences telling us what was happening, and we were all kept up to date. Imagine if Trump only had loyalists. I mean, the pandemic would have been so much worse, and I'm just thinking about that with foreign policy, in regards to foreign policy. If they think that the Bush administration lying about weapons of mass destruction was bad, wait until we see what Trump lies about to cover his ass after a foreign policy disaster. Trump officials have made no secret of their intention to fill the admin with hires sharing the president's vision. They began checking potential staffers shortly after Trump launched his campaign and have continued since he won. An application form on the Trump Transition website, for instance, asks candidates what part of Trump's campaign message is most appealing to you and why, according to a link by the Associated Press. It also asked how they supported Trump in the 2024 election, with choices including volunteering, fundraising, door knocking, and making phone calls, and they are also asked to submit a list of their social media handles, it proves that they are trying to weed out people who are not only disloyal, but also people who fundraised or door knocked will get elevated in his administration, which is scary because these people aren't always the sharpest. I've been to a lot of these events. Quote, "We are interviewing every single one of these individuals. If you are working in the federal government in a political appointee position, that comes through the White House now," said Sergio Gore on Thursday. Some officials have also referred to the newcomers sent by the White House to federal agencies despairingly as, quote, "Maga commissars," a reference to Communist Party officials from the former Soviet Union. So we have officials within our government saying the MAGA commissars are coming, and it's not far from reality. They are generally young, and many do not appear to have particular expertise or background in the portfolios of the agencies in which they are working, according to 3 U.S. officials who, like others, spoke on a condition of anonymity for fear of reprisals. So we have people inside blowing the whistle and saying, who are all of these young, America First, Hitler Youth-esque individuals showing up, taking over important roles with little to no experience? They said the screeners seem to be looking for even the slightest divergence between candidates and Trump's MAGA movement and America First policies. I mean, let me ask you this question. Do you think that they're hiring any minorities in these positions, or are those DEI hires in their eyes? It's probably all young white dudes who don't have a lot of experience. A negative social media post or a photograph with a Trump opponent has been enough for some applications to be rejected or put on hold for further review. One official said he and several colleagues from various agencies have been told that even if they pass the initial vetting process to be admitted on the applicant pool, they would still need to prove their bona fides and convince interviewers of their enthusiasm to put in place Trump's policies. And I'll talk about MAGA alignment in 1 second, but let's just go back to this tense meeting that happened. Rosen said Trump, quote, turned to him and said, well, one thing we know is you, Rosen, aren't going to do anything. You don't even agree with the claims of election fraud, and this other guy at least might do something, Trump said, referring to Clark. And this was in the Oval Office meeting on January 3rd of 2021, and if he had loyalists, these people wouldn't have pushed back at all. Rosen said, well, Mr. President, you're right that I'm not going to allow the Justice Department to do anything to try and overturn this election. That's true, Rosen recalled. But the reason for that is because that's what's consistent with the facts and the law, and that's what's required under the Constitution. Well, people will no longer care. This is me speaking now. People will no longer care about the facts, the law, or the Constitution as long as they are serving Trump, and Trump is making sure. Donahue eventually joined the meeting and recalled Trump asking, what did I have to lose? And replacing Rosen with Clark. Clark was the loyalist. It was actually a good opening because I said, quote, Mr. President, you have a great deal to lose. I began to explain to him what he had to lose and what the country had to lose and what the department had to lose. And this was not in anyone's best interest. That conversation went on for some time. Everyone chimed in with their own thoughts. all of which were consistent about how damaging this would be to the country, and they were all going to resign. Quote, it was a heated conversation, and Trump doesn't want any heated conversations, so Trump admin officials have made clear plans for a robust screening process that would ensure all officials inside the administration, especially the key ones who could shape policy, were aligned with Trump's agenda. The AP has reported that career civil servants who work on the White House National Security Council have been questioned by senior Trump admin officials about which candidate they voted for, their political contributions, and whether they have made social media posts that could be considered incriminating by Trump's team. What the hell? On Wednesday, roughly 160 NSC detailees who worked in the Biden admin were told that they were being sent home so Trump's team could conduct a review to ensure its personnel aligned with Trump's agenda. It's incredibly scary, and the White House has tried to defend their approach, saying no one should be surprised that those being hired align with the mission of the admin. But I mean, you want to hire people who are also experienced, who also will push back and will ask questions. I mean, as much as we hate President Biden for hiring Attorney General Merrick Garland, or for appointing him rather, in a normal reality, it would have been fine. I mean, Obama was going to appoint Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court because he is an accomplished, good dude, but he was kind of treating this like it was any normal situation when it's actually a 5-alarm fire, and Trump should have been prosecuted. Trump should have been charged on day one, right after he left the White House, but I'll leave it at that. Make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.